What do you say to somebody who believes West African fashion was never meant to be modest in the first place?
Girl, like, you guys, it's 2025. People say that. It kind of like just makes me recall how ignorant some people are to Western African rich culture. Why are we watering down our culture and our traditions to appease people that don't look like us?
I want to walk outside in a boo-boo, go to grocery shopping in a mulfa.
When I see people just throwing that out, wearing outfits from Shein, girl, come to Sutura.
Period. You know, when I started Daylight About Africa, my goal wasn't just to tell my story. It was to tell our stories, the ones that challenge stereotypes, reclaim our cultures, and inspire us to dream bigger for Africa. And today, we're doing something we've never done before. For the first time on this podcast, I'm bringing on a guest. Not just any guest, but someone who embodies what this platform is all about, rewriting the narrative from the inside out. Her name is Adja Coumba Gueye, a 22-year-old Senegalese woman from Harlem, raised in Long Island with a degree in biochemistry, a minor in Islamic studies, and a current life as a full-time Quran student. And on top of all of that, she is building a brand called Sutura, a West African-inspired modest fashion line that's as rooted in culture as it is in confidence. In a world where people say West African fashion isn't modest, Coumba is proving them wrong. Sourcing fabrics and inspiration straight from Senegal, producing her first samples there, and staying grounded in values that run deeper than trends. But what I love most about her is that she's not just making clothes, she's making a statement. Whether she's talking about the realities of modesty in Muslim spaces or showing the beauty and quality that comes out of African production, she's pushing us to think differently. So in this episode, we'll talk about everything: the challenges and the wins of starting a business on the continent, the personal journey of modesty, and the truth about what it means to create something for your culture when you've grown up thousands of miles away. If you ever dreamed about building something for Africa, or you felt disconnected from your roots and wondered if you have the quote unquote right to claim them, this conversation is for you. Let's get into it. So, before we even get into your beautiful brand, I want to start with something bigger because there's a narrative I personally see online constantly on TikTok or Instagram, and sometimes people just say it outright as well, or it's usually just hinted at, and it's the fact that West African fashion isn't modest. And you and I both know that this is a sweeping generalization, and this podcast, which is called They Lot About Africa, exists to challenge those kinds of misconceptions about our cultures. But some people take it even further and say West African fashion isn't even made for modesty, and that it's too bold, too loud, body conscious to ever be considered modest. So what do you say to somebody who believes West African fashion was never meant to be modest in the first place?
I would ask them what are jellies, what's mussels, what's hijabs, bubus, kaftans. Those are all modest fashion. When it comes to countries like Senegal, Mali, Nigeria, Guinea, we have contributed so much to the modest fashion industry that we're overlooked at. I feel like people in the West have this generalization or this idea that Islam is only for Arabs. So they kind of just look over us and our contributions to it when it comes to like being modest or being fashion. Like I don't know if you guys recall this past Eid, everybody had this whole um fiasco over people wearing bazins during Eid instead of wearing abayas. And it's just like boo-boos are basically smaller, like larger fitting abayas. It's more modest than the butterfly abayas that you guys were wearing. I feel like it just all plays into micro racism and Western propaganda that people want to push and brainwash other people.
Yeah.
Historically, when it comes to fashion in Western African countries like Senegal, we are not known for exposing our bodies or our outside. If you see like a traditional Senegalese dress, whether it's for weddings, parties, whatever it may be, usually everybody is covered. Nobody's wearing short shorts. Nobody's exposing their, like, it's always been modest. So when people say that, it kind of like just makes me recall how ignorant some people are to Western Africans rich culture. It's kind of sad to see people say that too.
It is very sad, and I completely agree with you. I actually even remember what you were talking about in terms of people who were saying online that Bazin wasn't modest. And I remember there was this one woman on TikTok, I believe she had converted to Islam, and she was calling out what a lot of West Africans wear on Eid, and it was Bazin. And I just found also that comment very ignorant, because Bazin is a type of fabric. At least say the specific type of outfits, you know, because categorizing or overgeneralizing one fabric to be immodest was just very ignorant, I think. But no, that is completely valid, and I love that response, and I thank you for being transparent about that. But let's talk about, well, you're building a modest fashion brand yourself called Sutura, right? Which in many ways is pushing back against that narrative that West African fashion can't be modest. Now, I know that Sutura is a Wolof word. You know, we both speak Wolof, but for those who are listening or watching that do not speak the language, what does it mean, and why did you choose that name over something more westernized or just maybe trendy, something that might be easier to market?
So Sutura is not just a Wolof word. It's also it comes from our forefathers in Arabic. It usually means more than just modesty. Sutura is kind of like a way of people seeing you. Like a lot of the times, the elder women in our community, like when they want to say for you to like be better, they would be like jigi and defe sutura, which translates to a woman should be or must be modest. Like it's having dignity, it's having respect for yourself. It's not exposing yourself, especially that exposing part. It's covering not just your body, but your sins and your flaws in general. So that's why I chose Sutura because it's just like something that, it really ties into me. Like I always grew up around women that were like perfect examples, women that always wore the hijab, they prayed, they cared about their image, not just in the household, but outside. And, they always talk about their lineage and where they come from. There was just like, whenever people talk about them, they're going to say, oh, these women have so much sutura. These women, they're modest. They hold themselves up to like a very high standard. And I just love that. And that's not just the people in my family. That's a lot of Senegalese women. Senegalese women are the most hardworking, most honest, trustworthy people I have ever met in my life. So Sutura is not just a dedication to me or just to my country. It's to all the Western African women out there. And I'm not just gonna say Western African. I'm just gonna say all Africans, all Americans, whatever country you might be from, Sutura is for you because we are all women at the end of the day, and we
Mm-hmm.
all fight some of the same battles, the same conflicts in our lives. But as Muslim women, we should stick together more than anybody else because we're sisters in Islam. So
For
that's why
sure.
I chose the name Sutura.
No, I find that really beautiful, and I'm so glad that you chose that word to call your modest fashion brand. I love the fact that it's different. I love the fact that it's not something that's trendy, and I think it's going to speak to a lot of people. Let's talk about the pieces themselves, though. What kind of items are you designing, and when someone wears sutura, how do you want them to feel, or what kind of presence or energy do you hope the clothes give off?
So I feel like some people have been, I'm not going to say embarrassed, but I feel like they've been more than shy to wear their cultural pieces outside nowadays. I see a lot of women that go wear like just regular plain abayas or like butterfly abayas during events, and that's not part of our traditions. Like what happened to the bright waxes and the jasmines and the nice buzzings with like the designs on it. So why are we watering down our culture and our traditions to appease people that don't look like us? So a lot of our pieces or a lot of my pieces have been tailored to reflect Senegalese tradition. Like we have kaftan, we have vuvus, we have waxes, we have some jasnes too. We also have regular plain abayas if that makes other people comfortable. It's not just one or two outfits, but I want people to wear sutura knowing that okay, this piece reflects who I am. This piece reflects that I'm Senegalese, or this
Mm-hmm.
piece reflects that I'm West African, or one of my signature favorite is the hijabista collection. We have boo and we have a lot of kaftans, but some of the fabrics that we got in are sourced directly from Senegal. If you know some people, like, we have a lot of cultural events. Like we have Maga, we have Gamu, and there's certain types of fabrics that people wear during specific events.
For sure.
And I would like to incorporate that into our every single day wear. So it's just like, it's home away from home. You can wear it wherever you want and still feel like, you doing your thing.
Yeah. No, I find that beautiful. I even remember when I started to dress modestly for the first time, I found it really interesting that anything that I would search up, any type of clothing that I would search up that was considered modest was Arab culture, and there wasn't much of our culture in the mainstream media or in Pinterest. And I got to a point where I became really frustrated because I didn't really feel comfortable in the clothes that I was wearing, not because it didn't represent my culture, but because it wasn't my culture, and girl, I'm gonna start wearing sutura. Like literally, like I was telling my friend the other day, like I want to walk outside in a boo boo, go to grocery shopping in a mulfa. Like I don't want anyone telling me.
Like, you guys, it's 2025. The
Yes,
world is advancing, and so is West Africa. We need to invest in our own culture. We have spent so much time and so much energy investing into other people's cultures that has nothing to do with ours. And if it was the reverse, they wouldn't really care about us. So I think it's time to take care of yourself. Learn where your roots come from. Come in. So I like when I see people just throwing that out, wearing outfits from Shein, girl, come to Sutra. You're gonna get the same price. Just your people.
period. No, I love that. You mentioned that you're producing your first samples in Senegal, right? And a lot of people still assume that doing business in Africa, especially across borders, means sacrificing quality, professionalism, or consistency, which honestly, both you and I know are negative pictures that have been painted towards Africa in many African countries. But some people even think that working in Africa is just too risky to take seriously. What has that experience actually been like for you? And how has it challenged or confirmed what people think they know about working on the continent?
So actually, I came to Senegal the end of like the halfway through my high school year, I think like 10th grade, and I chose to go back because my father was retiring. After being in New York for so long, being raised in New York, this gave me an opportunity to see a whole other chance at life. When I went to school, I got to see the differences of what life in New York was and what
Right.
life in Senegal was, and I realized like quality of life is way better over here. I don't understand where people still have this 1990s or this 2000s mindset that Senegal or West Africa in itself, like, you can't live a proper life here. The life you're living in America is terrible compared to the life you're living here. I noticed how easy it was for me to do things. Like, I would be at home, I would have my own chef, I would have my own maid, I would have a chauffeur, I would have all of this stuff. And it was just like, I'm grateful for Allah that I have that. But you would never really imagine having that in New York unless you got like, big dough. So that's when I realized, I'm like, why is my quality of life better over here? They're like, oh no, you got to go to America to have a better education. You have to go to America to get a better job. That is false. That is so false. I think the difference is just the amount that they would pay you. In America, there's so many different, like, our systems are two different systems. Over there, you get paid every single week. Over here, you get paid at the end of the month. What they pay here is not the same. Like, for example, if I want less than that for a full meal, whereas in New York, I'm spending $7 on a bagel and a bunch like $3 for like a small cup of coffee. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, you can't compare the two. But what I would say is you would never know unless you try. If you come to Senegal and you see that you're at peace and you feel like, okay, I have a skill in particular that I know I'm really good at, find people that can help you build off of that skill over here. Senegalese people, they work in areas that they know that they're good at. That's why you will always see tailors, you will see craftsmen, you will see cooks, you will see all of these type of areas that you're good at. So I don't. When people say that, it kind of shocks me. I'm just like, if only you knew, your quality of life would be 10 times better in Senegal. And I feel like some people our age only come here for vacation, so they don't really see the real side of Senegal. They really just come, you go to a restaurant, and then you go back home to your family's house. But no, like, if you take the day, you go to the marché, not to buy anything, but just go to the marché or like the stores and see how it works and see how it functions. You're gonna be all right, like, you
Yeah.
know. And I want to say that Senegal in particular is like such an advanced West African country compared to other West African countries. compared to like Mali or compared to Ivory Coast. Like, a lot of people from other countries come to Senegal to get work or to find like, business opportunities. Like this is a evolving country. So
Mhm.
I say like anybody who's thinking about it, do it. You're not gonna regret it.
I completely agree, and I think that just as much as there's problems in Senegal, there's just as much problems in the West as well. And I think it's just something that is, a repercussion once again of whatever like racism and colonialism that has painted the picture for Africa to be the way that it is. Though because of how it was treated in the past, I would say some areas in Senegal or in West Africa in general do struggle a lot more, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there's no professionalism that exists or no quality that exists or no consistency that exists. I've seen so many beautiful tailors make dresses for celebrities, for their weddings, for things of that sort. And I think that we tend to ignore those types of things. And I'm so glad that, you mentioned that because it's time that we bring that to light. And that's what my podcast is about. Now, when we spoke over the phone a couple of weeks ago, you mentioned that you were producing your first samples in Senegal, sourcing fabrics and design inspiration directly from there. And I believe that's such like a meaningful decision, especially being someone who was raised in the US with a Senegalese background. What has that process been like for you? Traveling, managing the early stages of production, and staying rooted in your values. And in the middle of all of that, did you ever question whether you were connected enough to create something rooted in that culture?
Um, First, I would definitely say the process was not as easy as I thought. I
Mm.
actually wanted us to make Sutura last year, but I was just like, okay, I had a vision and I had a goal, but just to get to that goal just took so long. Because also you have to think like there's a lot of things that go into it, not just buying fabrics and buying like finding tailors, but also it's like your key audience, where you want to sell your demographic, who do you want to sell to? Just a lot of decisions that were made around it was kind of hard. But when it came to sourcing the fabrics, I have only sourced my fabrics through Senegalese people. I went to Morocco even, and I went to the marches over there, and I worked with like people that sourced fabrics in Morocco, but they are Senegalese people, 100%
Mm.
Senegalese. So
Interesting.
it was a really humbling experience too, because it's like the fact that they know you're Senegalese. I feel like we always want to help each other out, and they were really helpful, and they were just like, oh, I think that this fabric will look really good with this type of dress, or I'm gonna help you out because you're my sister with the prices or whatever. And it was really nice. I saw myself in a lot of the tailors too.
Mm.
um, I am one of those girlies that I will go and get an outfit for every single event. So the tailors know me; they know how I am, and I feel like they knew what type of vibe I was going for. But when I told them like, okay, I'm gonna take the clothes to America to sell, like how happy they were, like
Yeah,
to know that their work was gonna be seen by other other people, other cultures and stuff like that.
for sure.
So it was really beautiful because it's not just helping me. It's not just helping Sutura. It's helping them get their outfits out there. It's helping them get their fabrics out there. It's helping ecosystem. Um, but what I would say for did I think I could do it? No, I did not think I could do it. It
Yeah.
was literally I had a list in my notes of things I wanted to accomplish, and Sutura was literally near it's like second to last on the list. But then
Wow.
I got like, I always get homesick, and I'm just like, I miss home. I miss home. I want to go back home. I want to go to Senegal. But what can I do in Senegal that's going to be meaningful, impactful, and help me live there? I'm not going to go back home and have nothing to contribute to my home and nothing really to do. So I'm just like, you know what? Why am I not doing this?
Yeah.
I should, go ahead and start. So that's where saving, investing, planning came in, and finally we made it happen.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I did
Absolutely.
doubt myself a lot, a lot.
Yeah.
But then again, like you pray on it. You make istikhara. You pray to Hajjud. Like if I feel like I'm doing something that's bigger than me, something that's not just gonna help me, it's gonna help other people, and I'm gonna get tiaba from it. They're gonna get tiaba from it. It's something that it's gonna help us too. So
No,
yeah, no
alhamdulillah.
doubts left.
I love that. And I love how when you were starting to feel homesick, you did not only make a decision to go to Senegal, but you did something that a lot of people don't do. And that's ask yourself, what can I contribute to my community? I think a lot of us in the diaspora, which I completely get, sometimes it's really overwhelming to switch environments that quick, especially take taking a lot of time being in the United States, you just kind of want to go to Senegal, you want to enjoy yourself. But I see so much of that and not a lot of investment, because I think a lot of us tend to forget that we could have easily been, one of those people in Senegal who had a lot of potential and a lot of dreams, but just didn't have the resources which we fortunately do have in the United States. So I applaud you and commend you for not only wanting to go back to Senegal and, you know, visit your family and be in a place that you love, but to do something for your people. Now, I want to pivot a bit. You had made a TikTok responding to a wave of negative comments under a post by an influencer who I believe her name was Brittany Renner. And she had like converted to Islam. She started dressing modestly, began wearing the veil, but then she later chose to take it off. And I remember people were so harsh. They were judging her, calling her out her name. And in your video, you pushed back against that criticism by reminding people that modesty is a journey, even for those who are born into the religion. And I think that message really stood out to me. It was really honest. I think it was necessary, and I think it was powerful. And I would love for you to share more about your own journey with modesty and just be real. Like, have you ever worn the hijab and still feel uncovered, or in a world where you're constantly judged for what you wear, both inside and outside the Muslim community? And did you ever just want to take it all off and not explain yourself?
Girl, let me spill the tea because I started wearing hijab. Well, I made the decision to wear the hijab in 2018, but it was so hard. I remember I started wearing it. It was close to my senior year in high school. It was getting to my senior year. Um, no, that was in 2019. I'm sorry, it was 2022. 2018 is when I wore the hijab to school for the first time, and I never wore it after that again because everybody was looking at me like I was crazy. And I was just like, oh, I'm gonna become a hijabi today. I'm gonna become a hijabi today. Oh, if only I knew.
Right.
If I knew, I would have never. Um, 2022, I was like, okay, so you know what? Maybe I tried it last time, but this time, my deen is evolving. I'm becoming a better Muslim. Like, I'm doing what I gotta do. So the last step, or like the step that I feel like will help me get closer to Allah, is hijab. And I remember I started wearing it during that Ramadan that year. I wore it every single day. Did not care what nobody said. And then prom night came and I took it off.
Mm.
And I remember somebody said to me, thank God you took that off your head. You looked crazy. And it was another Muslim that said that to me. And I'm like, oh no, I'm going to get back on. Oh, hell no. I was just like, that's crazy. And I'm just like, why would you say that? It was just like, well, it kind of looked like cultural appropriation. I'm just like, why would it look like cultural appropriation? They're like, because you don't really see black girls wearing hijab. Mind you, I lived in Long Island at that time. It
Yeah.
was a predominantly like Arab, Pakistani white community. So like when they saw that, they're like, why are you wearing that on your head, girl? Like you not know I was Muslim. And then I realized it clicked to me, these people don't think I'm Muslim because it's like, how could you tell I'm Muslim if I'm not wearing a hijab? It's not like men. Men could go outside. You don't really know who's like a Muslim or not. But as women, Allah made like lets us wear hijab to let the people know we are following His command. So it clicked to me like these people don't know I'm Muslim. Like, and it's not something that you just go around and say, "Hey, I'm Muslim. Hey, I'm Muslim." No, but I'm so proud of my deen, and I want to be able to show the world that, hey, I am one of Allah's disciples. I am following the orders of Allah, and even if it's not for that, my Rabb has ordered me to wear it. Like, and don't get me wrong, being around other people that don't wear the hijab has made me like want to take it off numerous times. There have been so many vacations that I've gone to Senegal or I've gone to Morocco, I've gone to wherever it is, and like you see a bunch of girls, they're outside and they're wearing like they're wearing nice sundresses, they got their hair out, and tell me, don't get me wrong, I would kill a jet blessed down wig
Right.
or whatever, but it's like so hard. You have those temptations from shaitan to take it off. You don't want to wear it properly. Like one day it starts off with edges, and then the next day you're clipping it to the back, and then you're pushing it forward, and then the next day it's off. And that has happened to me before. But then I have to realize somebody said to me that the Quran was not brought down in one day. It took
Mm-hmm.
time. Allah took verse by verse, surah by surah, chapter by chapter, and brought it down to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam over time, over the span of 2 to 20 years. So it's just like it's not gonna be easy for me to follow this command, but
Yeah.
I have to try. Like it's not easy, but it's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So. That's where I am now. And when I tell you it has been the best decision of my life, I always contemplate, like, sometimes I'll watch a video on TikTok and I'm like, oh my gosh, your hair is so nice. I wish, like, or, just want to post a picture of myself without the hijab. And for anybody who's watching this and you are struggling with the deen or you are struggling with the hijab, I'm telling you, every single prophet has struggled. There has never been a prophet that struggled. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves you, He will put you through certain tests, and hijab just may be your test. So take it with a grain of salt and just push through it because those temptations in your head telling you take it off, what is it really gonna do for me? It's not gonna help you in the end, it's gonna hurt you.
Yeah.
So have taqwa in Allah and bear patience, have sabr and keep it on. It's gonna do more good than damage. Promise
Yeah.
you.
I thank you so much for sharing your testimony. That is so beautiful. And I know a lot of people are going to resonate with that. Yeah, it's really hard to live in a world where, beauty is defined by what you don't have on. So the less you wear, the more beautiful you're considered in some places, or but trying to define the odds and doing that, it can be really hard. And you are right, and I pray that it continues to you continue to be strong with it, and others also find it inspiring. So thank you for sharing your testimony. It resonated with me a lot. I'm getting like emotional hearing you speak about it because I've also experienced the same thing. It's very hard. It's very hard, but there is a lot of benefit in it. We may not see it now, but we are being protected by a lot of things, and we will see the rewards of it soon, whether it's in this life or the next. There are also a lot of young people out there who want to build something rooted in African culture, whether that's a business inspired by home or something that you want to build on the continent. But many of them feel like they're too young, too broke, or too inexperienced to even start. And I'm kind of in that boat right now myself. I'm thinking about what can I build in Africa? And sometimes I hit that roadblock. But what would you say to me or someone who's sitting on a dream, but deep down, they're scared that Africa doesn't need them?
Africa needs you. Africa, I'm saying this like I wish I had a microphone to just scream it out. Africa needs its kids. We
Yeah.
are the children of Africa. We are the future of Africa. And just because our parents left with a dream to go to another country, they did their part. We have to do our part and give back to where they came from. If it's not for them, do it for yourself. Do it so your children know, okay, I am from here. My parents contributed to this. Because everything that we see, there's this quote that says it takes a village. Go to your village. Because at the end of the day, every single person will stand behind their culture. Why aren't you standing behind us? That does not make sense. It will always be an African. If you're an African person, there will always be an African person that will consider you their child, their sister, their brother, your family. We're family, no matter what country you are. Just like today, if there's an AFRICON match, we can go. I could go sit here. I might be versing Mali. Senegal might be versing Mali or versing Ivory Coast. But at the end of the day, it's like we're brothers. So you have so much to contribute to the continent of Africa in a whole, not just your country. Like you have to understand, we are the future. Everything that the energy that we're pushing towards in America, if you push half of that energy towards your home country, you will be more than fine. I'm telling you. Um, I feel like the doubts and the worries that you have, once you actually do it, you're not gonna stress about it. Because I'm telling you, I had $20 when I was thinking about Sutura. When I tell you on my list of things I wanted to accomplish, it was the last thing on my list. But then again, it's just like you need to have faith in yourself. You need to have faith in Allah. You need to have faith and confidence in yourself. If you have a skill and you know you're good at it, why are you minimizing yourself to America? And showing your talents and showing your worth. Like it's not just that you have to go back home and then you just have to sit here and just wait for things to happen for you. No, you own your destiny. You own your future. So take it by the hand and just do what you got to do with it. Don't doubt yourself because if you doubt yourself, you're never gonna end up doing it. Doubt is the enemy. Like you're just gonna keep procrastinating and procrastinating, and you're not gonna end up like where you want to be. And then what I would hate is for somebody to look back and be like, "Oh, if I wish I would have known. If I was younger, I would have done this. Or I had this dream and I never did it." It never hurts to try. What are you gonna lose from it?
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
you should do it.
Girl, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna
Yes,
do
do
it.
I'm telling you, do it. Like, and I
Yes.
applaud you for like I was saying earlier on the phone call for your podcast, I know you had a vision and you decided to do it. You did not see like who would watch it and who wouldn't watch it. You decide to speak your truth. And the things that you're talking about on your podcast are things that have to be said, things that are, important in the community, things that affect not just our lives, but the lives of the people back home. So I applaud you because I know it all started off as a vision, as a dream. And now look at you, alhamdulillah, you're here. And I hope one day we might see They Light About Africa on the billboards, or she gonna get a Grammy, or whatever award she gonna get. We're gonna be
Grammy.
like, that all started off as a vision. Like, you just gotta try.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. I think a lot of us are really scared to do things that are not considered the norm. We like to follow conventional paths, which I understand because they are a lot more safer and they feel comfortable. But I think one thing that I've learned over the past couple of months, which you speak so much highly of, is that sometimes you do have to make decisions that don't feel comfortable, because at the end of the day, this is your life, and this is bigger than just an idea. It's helps a bunch of people, and it speaks to something much bigger. So I thank you for sharing that. Now, the last question. Fast forward 5 years. What is your biggest dream for Sutura? And what truth about West Africa, modesty, or womanhood do you hope your brand helps restore?
I'm gonna answer that second part first.
Oh,
Um, I want people to see themselves in clothing. I know that there are certain brands that people see themselves in, like, how everybody says, "Oh, for my wedding shoe, it's gonna be Jimmy Choo." Why? Because they're like, "Oh, I love this shoe so much. Like, this piece is just, it just makes me so happy." I want people to think about that when they're wearing Sutra. Like, I want somebody to like think about, "Oh, my Nikkah dress is gonna be from Sutra." Oh yes, when I'm doing my henna time, my clothes are gonna be from Sutura. I want people to see themselves in my clothes, not just as a way for me to make money. No, it's not about that. It's about building a connection, an everlasting connection through modest fashion. Senegal's I'm going to talk about particularly Senegal because I'm from here. Our culture has so much to do with traditional fabrics. Every single clothing piece has a story. Whether it's you're going to Gamu, whether you go to Mago, whether it's um Tabaski, whether it's Korite, every single piece has, it has a backstory to it. So, I really hope that everybody can see themselves wearing my pieces. And I really hope that years from now, people sit and still talk about it. Oh, there was a Senegalese brand that this girl used to sell in Senegal in America. When I tell you she has the most traditional pieces, it looks nice. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, 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 that's me. But in 5 years, inshallah, I hope I don't just branch out to my country. I hope I go to other countries and, do the same thing with Sutra, learn and, just grow. I am interested in looking at other countries, like their history and stuff, especially ones that are tied to ours. Like we have rich connections with Mali, Mauritania, Guinea, Gambia. Like we have so much in common and so much blood between us, good blood. So, inshallah, I will hope like I would branch out over there and, see to become something bigger than this.
inshallah. I cannot wait to see Sutra. I This is a whole movement, girl. When I tell you, like, even right now, I'm wearing like an open abaya, and this is technically considered like Arab culture. Like, I'm gonna start on my podcast wearing Sutra. Okay, I'm gonna start wearing the mulfas, the baze, the brode.
Girl, don't say,
Like,
I will send you a whole PR package.
period. Like, you have made me feel so empowered in this conversation that we just had, and I think it's so important for us to go back to our roots and to really feel connected to it, especially through fashion. Fashion is how you feel. What you wear is how you feel and how you represent yourself. And I you are starting a movement. I hope you know that you are starting a movement. And it's so important that we start wearing clothes that represent us. And I just cannot wait for Sutra to drop. That's it for my conversation with Coumba, founder of Sutura, storyteller, and someone truly living the values she designs for. Her brand officially drops September 27th, and trust me, you're going to want to be there for it. Whether you're looking for pieces that carry West African elegance, modesty, and meaning, or you just want to support a young African woman building something rooted in her culture, this is the moment. All the links to her site and her social media platforms are right in the bio in the link tree. So click through, follow, and mark your calendar. September 27th isn't just a launch date, it's a statement.